Hello, everyone, and welcome to Technically Inappropriate. This week, Hold on. Tony, where are you?
If the police answer, just hang up.
Wrong number.
Fuck.
All right. As little as possible. Whenever I'm forced to.
I've got...
Hi, what's going on?
Why aren't you on the fucking call?
What time?
Get on the fucking call.
What time? Oh, fuck, it's like 1:15.
Yeah, where are you at?
I'm sitting here watching Grand Tour, and my alarm didn't go off.
Jeremy Clarkson has nothing to fucking do with this. Get your ass on.
Neither of you
I'll
fucking
be
guys
there in a
work.
bit. All right, bye.
Bye.
Anyway, this week the boys geek out on development groups and look at software bugs. You want to know why your problems are never fixed? Now you can. This week's topic is poop tech. Why they decided on this topic, the world may never know. We have a new logo, so you don't have to keep wondering what the old one was. So let's tune in and see who has the best dump story.
I wonder why, you're probably wondering why I asked you all here today.
Dude, well, it just proves the point. Like, usually I come with like a couple cans of beer for this thing, and like all I had was this big fucking bottle, so I don't even do the normal crack shit when I started. We are all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
You got soccer later.
I do have soccer later. I better be fucking drunk before I get there to deal with it.
I was having
Tony, I think it's time
nap.
for an intervention.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having a nap,
More beer, less soccer. Is that what you mean?
It's it's sort of required, once you get to a certain age, and you've been drinking won't fixes all morning. If I didn't share this already, we decided to refer to our daily drinks as won't fixes, by designs, or no repros.
I'm going to have to build our website soon because we have too many damn jokes between all this shit.
Okay, I got questions, but I feel like you're about to answer all of them.
A won't fix. Well, these were all bug reports when we were at Microsoft, and it was the beautiful thing that we would do. And it became especially awesome when somebody else you knew submitted a bug report to you, and you could then treat it with, how do I put this? The contempt it deserved. Which, is one of our mates, Grunky, submitted a bug report for Visual Studio while I was there. And I got it, and I'm like, and the process is you start off with, we looked at it, so there's no reproduction. So it's no repro. Send it back. And then he sent back and like, here's a better example case of how you can find it. And I looked at it and sat down with the dev manager, and I'm like, yeah, we're not going to fix that. So I sent it back to him, won't fix. And he submits it back again saying, no, we need this. And then I looked at it for a bit more, cracked open the spec and said, nah, fuck you, that's by design. And sent it back to him. And at that point, and then I sent him like taunting emails saying, come on, with just a little bit more effort, you could get us to address this.
Back channeling it to the
I think
coasters.
the best thing you could do, Tony, is 5 years later, send him a note.
Find
that bug as a subject line.
Find that same bug and then send it back and saying, we decided we're going to fix this, but we need you to make a justification.
Is that bug still outstanding?
Oh, God knows. It was this was one of the things I did, because I used to be the program manager responsible for extensibility in the VS IDE.
Right.
So devenv .exe was the shell. And I used to go around and I would beat up other teams saying, like, stop making crap, start making plugins. Because what these other teams would do is they would just take a snapshot of our code base and go, we're going to use this snapshot and build our tool off that. I'm like, well, you know what happens when you do that? Any bugs we fix don't get taken back into your code base.
Right.
Right. So, and I would go around like, I think that was what it was about. I think it was something like I had complained enough that finally Azure had decided they would build their tool using our, API.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, this is a really obscure corner case, and I will leap with the speed of 1,000 startled gazelles to get that fixed. And then proceeded to go through the won't fix, no repro by design.
I'm taking this immediately to figure out how I can block it as fast as possible.
This is number 36 or 37 on my list, depending on where you rank Gazelle Stampedes.
It is like, to quote Red Dwarf, it is like, number 17 on my daily goal list, right after learn Portuguese.
And for our listeners that wonder why that bug never gets fixed, listen, you're hearing directly from this source.
Look, now, don't get me wrong. I fixed a lot of bugs while I was on VSIDE. It was always like chiseling through somebody's nutsack to get the devs to work on this stuff. Right? There was always many, many reasons for why. Oh, no, shiny new thing we've got to go work on.
Right.
Instead of code hygiene.
I understand all the people in the house that are giving us money now, but we don't have these people's money. So let's go attack that.
We don't care about the old money. We want the new money.
It's shinier and prettier.
This sounds like this is a topic idea. Maintenance, development, and how to make it sexy.
I'll add it.
So what I would do is every release that we would go through is I would go mine all the old bugs that we had closed as, we weren't going to address that release. I'd reactivate them. I'd put them in a big list. I'd, stack rank them. I'd sit down with Dev and I would go through and say, like, okay, let's, T-shirt cost all of these things and let's, like, do code hygiene work. And I feel like, people don't do that anymore. I think, now, let's face it, I was not 100% successful on achieving the goal there because, like, devs will work well only under constant supervision and cornered like rats.
It's like fearing for their lives, right?
I see what you're saying, because without constant supervision, someone's going to go do all that code hygiene, but it's just because they're working on some other project and they decide, oh, I need to rebuild the dependency injection engine because this is bullshit. And it's like, I just needed you to move this from here to there.
Right. Yeah. No, I need to have this library and the other.
You would see this all the time of like, look, we've got some bugs here that have been pissing off people for a long time. Let's go fix them. Oh, no, can't possibly. Way too expensive. There's nothing that we could do. Blah, blah. New shiny thing depends on X subsystem.
Oh, yeah. We're going to the moon.
Oh, well, now we have to go back in and fix that, And I'm like, why? No. It's way too hard. We can't possibly work on that. And they'd be, no. DevX,
the fundamental, the rule of thumb for developer estimates. I think we're about to create a podcast that just ostracizes the development community, and they're the only people who will understand what we're talking about.
Well, that's our niche.
I'm going.
I'm all into, baby.
Here's
that and the few thousand program managers that work at Microsoft that have had dealt with this.
They'll be like, okay, those
fuckers know what it's like to like.
Okay, these guys will appreciate the fact that once upon a time I had a spreadsheet when I'm going through that list that you're talking about, Tony, of here's all the shit. And let's T-shirt size it, and let's kind of like get our arms around. Is this big? Is this hairy? Is it complicated? And then I would weight that based on how much I thought the developers were actually interested in doing the work. Because if they, the estimate needs to be increased if they want to do it, and decreased if they don't want to do it. Because there's it still happens to this day where I'm like, you guys are telling me that. Well, let's hypothetically, let's say we have we do a velocity of 100 points in a sprint. And you guys are telling me that, and nobody wants to do pixel pushing. So moving the order of these controls in the header is going to take a half a sprint of everyone's effort, as opposed to this, let's change the database out under the covers and like, oh yeah, we could do that. And like, yeah, it's like 10 points.
Well, so I had to, that for legal reasons, I had to have 2 URLs, like 2 hyperlinks added to help about in the Visual Studio IDE, right? And so I'm like, it's a dialog box. You're like, just crack it open inside Visual C++, open the dialog editor, add to URLs, close it, stick it back in the source tree, declare victory, right? That's all that should happen.
It's a solid day's work.
Right.
It's actually not even, it's a solid morning's work.
Well, it's just like a solid 15 minutes work, for fuck's sake, because I already had.
Oh, sorry. It would take me at least half a day, Tony, but okay.
I already had the URLs. And now at Microsoft, we used this thing called FW links, where there was another database where your URL would be FW blah, like go.microsoft.com/FW link equals some.
Is that because a uniform resource locator was not enough?
No. So because like we wanted to disassociate
I'm asking
the product,
for a friend.
Wanted to dissociate the actual implementation of the product from what the web devs were doing, because they would suddenly decide that all of these parts of the website should now be under a different information architecture and stuff, right? So for no apparent reason, but I think that was because they didn't have enough work, and so they would just generate this stuff all the time to justify full employment. So I already had the FW links. I had it set up. I covered all 37 languages that Visual Studio had to use. All done. 2 fucking FW links. Just go add them. Dev manager was, oh, no, we can't do that. And I'm like, come on, you can just do it. Oh, no, we can't do it without a spec. And I'm like, okay. You want an actual written document spec to add to. All right. I see the game you're playing. I'm going to raise you and fuck you at the same time. So I wrote a 9-page spec.
That's what she said.
A 9-page spec on putting FW links into help about that also required threat modeling, accessibility testing. I added all of this additional shit into the spec, and I said, there you go, dev lead.
Have a
legally
good day.
required. We have to go do that. And now you have to do all this other work that we'd all would have just glossed over if you had just added the 2 URL.
This could have been a handshake.
See, this is why when I was
nothing better than vindictive program management.
I would love to read this spec just to kind of it was soak
like,
up.
I shit you not. It was like 9 pages long.
Passive aggression throughout this entire
veil of
thing.
professionalism that comes with it. No, this is.
And this was back
I'm gonna believe it's in our. You can't argue against any of this. Like, of course we would want accessibility,
and
right?
this was
like
back in the day.
Of course, we want purple blinds.
It sounds like this is Tony going, "Oh, you're in that corner. Let me just finish painting. I'll be there in a minute."
And this is the same reason when I was a developer that I always took all my estimates and times them by pi and gave them out, and they almost always worked because, straight line, start to done. But by the time you figure out all the requirements, by the time you deal with all the PMs, by the time you deal with the fact that the marketing and sales team has changed the project 3 times, by the time you've actually figured out how to fucking actually develop it, now you're there.
So what Rob is saying was that his estimates were consistently about 3 times less than what it took. It wasn't that his estimates were actually accurate. They were that bad that he had to multiply by 3 to make the goal.
Here's the life
that's also probably true,
Tony, which is if you find the right ratio for padding your estimates, which it sounds like Rob did, then you can always deliver on time. And if things work out appropriately, you got, for a 1-day project, you got 2 days to fuck around.
Exactly.
And I mean, you've cracked the code, Rob.
I did not miss many dates. You can go back and talk to all my managers over time. I hit a lot of my dates.
And when everyone asks, why did it take so long to ship a version of Windows? This is why.
To be clear,
between passive-aggressive dev estimates, program managers taking like vengeance on those passive-aggressive dev managers, and SDET's going, wait, am I supposed to turn it on before I test it?
No,
that's
to be
why
clear,
it took so long.
Yeah, no, and I want to be like, if you think about it, Windows releases were 3 years.
Listen,
between ME, between Vista, it was 3 years, and I was a part of all of it. 3 years. All right,
partly responsible.
Well, we are on or off, or we're on somebody else's rails at this point.
Well, you haven't even asked us how our week has been.
That's exactly what I'm going to go with.
We started late. We're half an hour in. We've got stops coming up. We got to talk about. We got to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart.
I don't know what
it might be the less time we have for that, the better. I am guessing.
I think so. It might be good. So
I don't know what you guys talked about before I got on the call.
No,
it was a lot of where the hell is Tony?
Yeah, it was like. So Tony, how the hell are you other than
we
late?
should probably do a little bit of like audio editing on the start there, and try and find the nuggets of value. And I use that phrase, nugget.
Little Miss Narrator.
You're painting a picture with your words, Tony.
It'll become apparent why later on in this episode.
I'm going to give it all to Little Miss Narrator. She'll figure it out. Little Miss Narrator will handle it. That's what we do now.
My week's been mostly good.
Excellent.
Mostly good. So
mostly excellent then.
Yeah. There's nothing really to complain about. Apart from the usual, but nothing else really to complain about. What's going on? What's going on this week? What's going on since the last time we recorded? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's just since Friday.
Bank crashes.
Oh,
well, yeah, but
every employee I had asked about that question, and I was like, "No, we're with Citibank. We're fine. Stop asking questions."
Yeah, we put our money into something that was too big to fail,
and then it blew up. So the Titanic, apparently.
Well, I've said this before, in a previous episode. Professionals built the Titanic, amateurs built the Ark.
I literally said that and didn't really think about what I had said at the time. I can't stop thinking. But it's got these doors, and when they come down, they won't fail. Like, okay.
There is nothing that man makes that can't fail. So I have to go and replace the water heater at the condo I have as a rental property.
You still got that thing, huh?
Yeah, I still have it on Mercer Island there. Got some great tenants. They're fantastic. And
you're the crunchiest slumlord I've ever met.
It's I am such a slumlord that every time they have a problem, I'm like, let me roll a truck and fix that for you. I really don't have this slumlording thing down yet.
You gotta fix your problems, man.
I'll tell you, remind me to tell you a story about slumlords when we're not recording. I just don't feel like it's appropriate.
For legal reasons, the first thing that we
have a Patreon.
It's so inappropriate. We can't put it on inappropriate.
Under the advice of my legal counsel, I'm unable to comment on this.
I don't know what the statute of limitations says.
So I got to replace that, and this is the beauty of HOAs because there's a condo association and that, and I've arranged to have the guys come out there, replace because the condo association says, we got to replace the water heaters every 10 years. And I get that because they had a whole bunch of like water heaters fail in third story condos. and that screws everyone below them and that. And so they've gotten really gun shy with the whole water heater thing. Now, my water heater happens to sit on a concrete pad right next to a parking spot. So, the worst that can happen is that, my water heater failing will just simply help, water all the gardens down one side of the condo area.
It's a green move.
But, I got to go do this. So it occurred to me that after I'd arranged everything, it occurred to me that there's actually only one turn-off valve in our building. So I've got to turn off the entire water to the building to replace my water heater.
Do you have obligations to notify the other residents of the building that this is
Not
happening?
anymore, no, because I have now told the HOA that I'm turning off the water. Now, I'm not I'm an ass, but I'm not that big an ass. So I called the HOA lady, and after like a 15-minute voicemail message that she has, the system then said, we don't have, like, the voicemail box you were, leaving a message for is full. So I'm like, well, I can't call you. So I sent emails. I've never heard anything back. I'm like, my duty of care is done here now.
Done your part.
And if anyone complains, I'm going to point out, called, emailed, and so on. So
smoke signals, something. I mean, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, and we're having a little bit of an argument. They have an air leak in my condo, and it's causing a lot of cold air to come into the condo.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the homeowner association, I said, look, the appropriate way to approach this is to take down the exterior cladding because my condo sits above the parking spaces.
Right.
So the appropriate way to do this, and that's where the cold air is just to take that roofing down, see what is laid in there, fill it all up, and then put the roofing back in. They're like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can only service that from inside your condo. So what they're asking me to do is to take my tenant and say, you cannot use the majority of your living room while we pull up carpet, floorboards, drywall, so that we can look at this area and fix it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not happy to do it, but it's like, if that's what you want, told my tenant, it's like, look, I want to fix this problem that you have, but this is what the HOA is telling me.
That's insane. That's why I don't think HOA should belong.
No. If I was living there, I'd just have rolled a truck out and just had it pulled out and, wait for them to complain. But because I'm not living there, it's, it's a little harder to do that.
My mental picture of all of this that you're describing, Tony, is an only murders in the building vibe for this condo. With
you're only responsible for everything inside the studs in a condo.
Exactly.
Well, and so I have the tenant has also said that it appears that the door jamb is warped and the door's not sealing properly. And I'm like, well, there's nothing really I can do with a warped door jamb from a inside of the condo perspective. I have to replace the door and most likely replace the door frame, the whole door jamb as well, right? Well, that ties into the exterior cladding and
this is the bullshit
in
part
my
of
house.
condos.
This is a problem that would be solved with a plane.
Well, I've been in your office, dude. That thing is on a plane. It's almost a slide.
So that's another email.
No foundation problems here.
That's another email to them because
you're not making it a problem.
My tenant raised this, and I'm not a slumlord, so I'm like, no, I want to fix this, but I can't fix it without the HOA.
My HOA makes me a slumlord.
Yeah, like the HOA has to tell me. It's like, okay, who is your approved siding contractor that would allow me to remove an exterior fitting and reinstall it and all this sort of thing?
I checked on this before I bought my house, by the way. We are not
the
an HOA for a reason.
They replaced all the windows and everything when they redid the siding.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm like, well, I just can't go and do that because that's what you claim is your part of it. Now, once again, if I was living there, I would just probably go do it. And then if anyone turned up and asked, or any other neighbor or whatever, I'd just say, oh, yeah, something fell and we're just fixing it up. Or basically, I just
someone died in here. We're just fixing the smell.
Is this why you have like a neon vest and a clipboard so you can just look like
right? Because
Tony could totally pull that off, dude.
Absolutely. You can walk into anywhere as long as you got a clipboard and a vest.
Everyone around the corner knows that I live there, but with tenants there, I can't co-opt them to lie for me. So,
but you could pay them.
Yes,
I could
pay them.
I disagree. You could co-opt them to lie.
That creates a paper trail, gentlemen. And remember, the fundamental.
Have you learned nothing from the
fundamental?
You learned nothing from Stormy Daniels.
Isn't only as much as the cash you give them.
The fundamental rule is never in writing, always in cash.
Bingo. Yes.
Right. And so I can't co-opt them. So I got to do it properly. And that's the problem with actually being a landlord that gives a rat's ass about your tenants, is you've got to actually do it properly. And I'm like, why? Why are you making this hard? I just want to make the world a better place.
I want to make this condo
It's
a better
one
place.
of the few times where I get to be a good guy. Just let me be good, for fuck's sake.
Someday I got to tell you the story about me evicting a hobo from my aunt's property, because I feel like we could really commiserate.
Oh, man. All right. So as much as I want to keep asking everyone else stuff.
I got shit's happened, man.
All right.
Come on,
go
man.
on. Yeah. All right, Russ. Get into it. Yeah, all right. Tell me about it.
Hey, Rob. No, Rob, how's your week been?
My week?
Yeah.
No. We're not talking about my week. My week's shit.
My kid might do have so
Please,
Sony gives me a hard time for going to Smoldering Man.
Where did that squeaking just come from? Was that Rob, or was
that's me? I'm squeaking. Sorry, I'm moving because I'm
We
talking.
get more lube in that thing.
I thought you bought a 55-gallon.
You know what's funny?
Tub of lube.
I actually have gotten feedback like that. It keeps getting better. We just got to figure out how to deal with the squeak.
If I bump the desk, it squeaks. I
dated
when
a
it's
girl
recording
that
time, I
sounded like
moved in
that
the
once.
non-squeaky chair that's less comfortable, but there's no square
That might work
chair
out.
squeak.
Chair squeak. That might work well because that makes you kind of sit up and be a part of it, man, instead of leaned back,
No, it makes me
looking
feel-
like fuck this podcast.
I know, but that's my vibe. It's
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, if you get the mic, maybe you should put the microphone behind you on an arm and then just lean it straight back so you can
Just
just
had to come down from the ceiling.
Totally.
All right.
So, sort of
I'm
like
a-
dentist life, really.
Yeah. Anyway, Russ, your turn. What do
We
you
don't
got?
need to talk about my week. Let's get into it because we only have
I mean, we have as much time as we want to subject our audience to, which seems to be both growing and shrinking in weird ways. New Zealand hasn't been back this week so far, which is disappointing.
Damn it, we lost Kiwi, man.
I think at least for this week, maybe he's on vacation. I don't know.
right.
And it really could be a vacation based on the shit he has to listen to when he comes in. But we gained someone in the UK and someone in Australia. So
okay. So
that could have been my fault because of the, I shared the link to some mates of mine in Australia.
but what about
And
the
I
UK?
said-
Who brought the UK? in?
I said I mentioned Gavin,
is he-
the D&D rules expert
Yeah.
from things, so that's why you might have picked up just a one-time once from Australian link.
But what about the UK? Who's responsible?
Oh,
for
no,
that?
that's just somebody that has no life.
Yep. No, I do feel like
So
the well is deep.
as well as the deep and dangerous. All
Now,
right.
Mr. UK man, we would love for you to stay around.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And Gavin, please stick around.
And yeah,
Tony
well,
won't
yeah,
always make fun of you. It'll be great.
If Gavin's listening,
If-
D&D
he could-
rules expert.
He could run our one shot that we're going to do, the three of us.
Oh yeah, no, we'll talk about that later. So based on, I guess this is a good leeway. And sorry, we'll get in the rest of our weeks at some point in our lives. But sometimes we're just boring tech people. But for some reason, I wrote it down because I was both based on Poop Smoke Joke that we put out, and also right after that, like 3 other podcasts I enjoy all talked about having great times with new technology in toilets and stuff. And I thought, let's dig into this. Like, America is apparently the most, I don't know what the right word here. I wouldn't either not highly technical or very diverse in far as what people believe a toilet and all the things around it should be involved in. And to give you an idea, like, I have every toilet in my house I had to order online because you can't be the zombie at like Lowe's or Home Depot and go pick this thing up. I think the most expensive toilet in the fucking building comes in at just under $200, and every one of my toilets comes in at $800 a piece because they're all one piece of porcelain. They're all designed with the idea of like a long bowl, but in a very short space.
Also, when you're done, a little flag pops up and says, "Way to go, Rob."
No, they make me feel great about myself after the experience.
Rob likes a gentle cupping when he's sitting down.
Just a little tickle.
Yes. And then they pull up my then they pull up my underpants for me as I go. But like, so I bought these because of that, and I had to order them like online and have them like delivered and all that stuff. And then you get into and that's just me, right? And what I was interested in. But then you get in all this crazy stuff. Like you go to Japan and like the toilets are like heated, and then
well, now you're talking. No. So let's.
Can we just clarify, because you have avoided actually saying what the topic is whilst describing this on our topic list. This is called poop tech.
Poop technology. Poop tech.
So, all right, Tony, I'll let you go now. But I want to
can't
make sure
wait
that
to
we've
hear
set
her
the
say
stage
this.
So now
for
that
this adult conversation.
Now that we're on the topic of poop tech, I think you need to split the. You need to split the argument about the toilet and the toilet seat.
First people to be banned from the internet.
And the next thing you have is toilet accoutrements. Right? So if you think about the Japanese experience, right? I've dumped a lot of crap in Japan. I don't remember their actual porcelain being any different from mine. However,
your passport was revoked.
Hence why I'm no longer able to go to the East Asian Greater Sphere of Economic Cooperation. But, their toilet seats certainly were, miracles of modern invention, of modern technology. And the accoutrement, to go all Canadian, were like, I would say excessive, but
Can you give me some examples of this besides poutine?
Well, no.
If the toilet gives you poutine, run the other way.
It's like you've got to have, your toilet roll holder needs to be automated so that
okay.
And then you have like, a control panel on the wall that's related to,
I mean,
room and floor heat.
Even their basic toilet in Japan is more than we get here. So, because of space and everything like that, like I was staying with a friend in Chigasaki, and the toilet literally was, it was like a regular toilet, but the back had, instead of just pouring directly into the bowl, it looked like a sink on the back, so you could wash your hands.
That is an incredible Japanese invention.
Yeah, on the back of the sink, and then that water became the toilet water.
I was horribly drunk in Yokohama.
Just Yokohama.
Well, I was horribly drunk in all of Japan, but we went out for yakisobe there, and anyone that can actually speak Japanese is probably like,
No, that's my ringtone now.
So,
I'll save it for you.
Please, for God's sake,
Yakisobe.
stop trying to westernize Japanese words. But we're in this little place that was selling this great food. Like, the food was fantastic. Don't get me wrong. And their toilet had that whole setup, and I thought that was so inventive, where the water came in, and that was the hand basin that you washed your hands in, was the water that then filled the cistern that they then used to flush the toilet. What I thought was less inventive about it was the toilet was simply a porcelain trench in the floor that you navigated yourself over, got in your sumo wrestling stance, and then took your dump. I was less enamored about that, but I was very enamored with the whole, don't waste water. Let you wash your hands in it while it fills the cistern up.
Yeah, now
Makes a lot of sense.
and then on the other side of it, I've also been in Japan. So apparently, Japan's probably our biggest innovator in waste
In
receptacles.
toilet tech.
Yeah. But I was in a bar, and one of the bars there, like, you walk into the bathroom and there's this one toilet, and what the fuck? It just looks like a mouth, and and you walk up to it.
Well, that was not a toilet.
Apparently, Russ and I go to different bars.
Yeah. No. Let me finish this. It gets fucking weirder. And so you walk up to it to use a urinal, and once it detects that you've started to pee, the whole thing starts to sway back and forth, and fake cameras come out and start flashing about, and you could sit in the corner and watch the drunk businessmen come in and be like, oh, yeah, like the whole time. So you have a whole entertainment experience while you're trying to piss.
Is this the poop tech that you're looking for? In your own
No,
home?
so far we're just on urine. We haven't got the
does
poop
not sound
piece.
like a pleasant
But
shit
just
to me at all.
Tony,
I had my second favorite bathroom experience in Japan when we were at a shabu shabu restaurant, and I go to the toilet. Now,
I really feel like this whole podcast is to be one for the archives.
oh yeah,
we should definitely archive this as quickly as possible.
this is a shit.
Oh yes. Sorry.
The discussion as to whether the shit show was going to go off the rails is not so much of is it, but when.
That was really the only question. All right, so tell me about the second best dump you took in
And
Japan.
so, I go to the toilet in this shabu shabu restaurant. This is when I worked for IBM, and so I was over in Roppongi.
Ironically.
Yeah. And
I don't even know what the narrator's going to do with this.
I go to the bathroom in the men's room, and it's got the standard Western, like 8-foot tall door, and I open the door, and there at about 4.5 feet is the roof. Right?
It's like being John Malkovich.
I'm 6'2", and so I'm looking at a lot of like drywall, and there is just one little channel that they built for Westerners, so I could slide into the channel and sort of walk sideways down the channel, because it was about the width front to back of your body. It wasn't shoulder width. It was like and then when you hit the end of that, it directed you to a specific urinal, right? You didn't have any other choice. That's where it took you if you wanted to stand up. And so...
It sounds like the parking garage at an airport.
It's like Jenga.
It was
There's Tetris
the
meets
weirdest
like
thing that
pooping.
I've ever seen. And if I wanted to go to an actual sit-down toilet, I would have had to have ducked down and then, sort of crab walked over the toilet.
That's
I'm
undignified.
guessing that there was some minimum height in Tokyo, or wherever I was, that had, it was Tokyo, Roppongi's in Tokyo, that said that the minimum height of the room for a toilet must be like 5'4" or something. And that was exactly where they built the roof, with the exception of this channel, just for us white guys to go and use.
So I'm talking about poop tech. First of all, Rob, I disagree that the United States is the furthest behind in poop tech.
Okay.
But
explain your stance for us and give us good examples.
Russ was just saying he was in Morocco.
How dare you?
What more do you need to know?
My kid is not going to want to hear this story when he shares this podcast with his friends, but he was like, "Oh, we were driving back to Marrakesh from something," and he was like, "We gotta stop." I was like, "Are you sure? Because like we got a nice place. It's 45 minutes away. It's there." And he's like,
"Nope, can't hold it.
Really got to stop." So I was like, "All right." Talk to the driver. He stopped at some roadside, whatever. We walked in. My kid's like 5 at this point. So, or 4 or whatever. Like he was pretty little. And I was like, and he took one look at this squatty potty and was like, "Yeah, no, I can make it back to the hotel." I was like, "Son of a bitch."
I had.
You didn't describe it enough. No, I need to be more offended by this toilet.
It was horrifying. It was like, I think they filmed Saw 7 in this bathroom. How's that? Okay.
So
the door is closed. How are you?
When I was involved in the convention scene, the D&D convention scene in Sydney, we went to this guy's place. Now, the places, the houses looked pretty okay, but they were directly under the flight path into Kingsford Smith Airport in Sydney. So, like, every 15 minutes, you just got this incredible smell of kerosene from the jets coming over, right? And we're there, and this place is, he believed in tantric goodness and all this sort of stuff. And this place was just filth from top to bottom, right? And I go to the toilet. Now, you have to understand this. I am just out of the army, right? I have dug holes in the ground and crapped in them and buried my crap.
And his neighbors still hate him for it. He wasn't even on neutral.
I have taken
Sir, this is a Burger King.
I have taken dumps that I had to beat down with an entrenching tool because they were like little snakes and wanted to kill me again, right? I have to pee.
We asked for this.
We did.
I have to pee, and I go to this guy's toilet, and I open the door, and I look in. I'm like, no, I can't do that. And all I have to do is pee. So I would prefer to go to the gas station across the road and use their toilet than use his. And that's what I did. I walked across, and all I had to do was pee. You know, I'm like, oh my God, how can you live in a place with a toilet of this quality? This would be, like, to your point, prisoners in Morocco would say that this was a crime against humanity.
The Geneva Convention is
now.
You know, and that was in Sydney, for Christ's sake.
I want to just to bring us back in a little bit, because I know I did start this by talking about Moroccan toilets. I am a fan of improved toilet technology. I don't know if you've seen my Tushy, Rob, but
not in a while.
I am a fan of the Tushy, which is and this gets me back to what you were talking about earlier, which is like, it sounds like you've got like an all-in-one turnkey system, so to speak, as opposed to one of these like addendums to your existing.
I mean,
infrastructure.
Like, you get some of these Toto toilets, and they're like $2,000 and like heated seats.
But you can get like a Toto attachment that's $400 or $500. Yeah, and that's going to get you
pretty far
most of the way there. I would think.
Well, so
I haven't graduated to that yet, but once I started using my Tushy, it was hard to stop. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, here's one of the things, and I don't know if I'm a fan of it, but like the bidet game plan, water straight up the backside, I don't know if I'm down with that, but
it gets the job done. And also, I did a little bit of research, Rob.
Wait, what do you mean gets the job done?
done or better?
It gets the job done. These fancy toilets that Rob's talking about get the job done. Are you kidding me?
Like, I don't know. I just, water spraying on my backside just doesn't seem like a good time. But everyone who's done it, it's always like, it's fucking amazing. I'll never go back to toillet paper or anything.
No, well,
Rob, it's fucking amazing. I'll never go back.
I always use the bidet whenever I'm in a hotel room that has one. Just because I want to make sure that everything in the hotel room gets a reasonable workout.
Service.
So do you know
the
reason why Americans have been slow to adopt bidet technology relative to Europe and Asia is largely because this is all information from the internet, so it's got to be true.
Are you going to make a big claim about it's all about big TP? You know, like big TP is out there. Can you let me get there, like Tony? Can you just let me get there?
All right, the floor is yours, Russ. Shut up.
Servicemen in World War II who were frequenting brothels in France often found bidets. Would always find bidets in the brothels because bidets were everywhere in France. But most of the places that the soldiers are going are brothels, and it became associated with sex workers. And a bidet is also super useful if you're menstruating. So in America, these are like taboos, right? Like sex work and periods. These are things that we do not want to.
We're progressive in America.
Oh, hell yeah. That didn't happen here. So it became associated with these things that are very taboo in our culture in a way that made it hard for our culture to adopt what I think is pretty advanced technology. And all you're talking about with your super fucking Japanese toilets, Rob, it's a glorified bidet.
yeah, no, for sure. Well, they can squirt front and back now. Like, they got different nozzles for this shit.
You got to get over your queasiness. I don't know. It's game changer.
Yeah, I always try out.
I'm old school as hell.
But, I don't understand how, you work. Like, what is the exact user experience of getting the water temperature correct? Right? Is the expectation that you stand in front of it, having it spray on your face while you try and adjust the water temperature? Mm-hmm. Or do you sit on it screaming in ice cold pain while you turn up the hot water until you get the right thing? And if you go too far, then you're like, oh my God, I've just deep fried my chicken nuggets. Right?
Yeah, it's mostly just about being a tough guy, Tony.
Look, anyone can do it hard, but only the smart people can do it easy.
Exactly.
Right?
I do. The only other thing I want to say, I wanted to talk about low tech poop tech for a second, because I have some experience with this as well. If this is even going to make the airwaves,
it'll make it. We own these airwaves. We own these airwaves.
I have a device because I like to hike and go on my smoldering man trips. And I've got a device called a Kulo Clean, which every time I mention this to my wife, she's like, don't ever say that word again. But it's like a little, I put a link to it in our stuff. Maybe we can, whatever day we have show notes, we can add it. But it's basically a screw cap that goes on any standard water bottle.
Right.
But it's got a nozzle that shoots not out the top, but out the sides, and get a little bit of a better angle, so that when you're in the outdoors, you can still have the benefit of a lovely Japanese style toilet experience, even if you're, crouched over a hole. And I'm a big fan of that. Also, the other thing I wanted to say, speaking of shitting, is I'm proud to say I have shit in one of Outside Magazine's top 10 most scenic toilets in the world.
What is that? What?
Who proved this? It was like Outside Magazine put together like a list of here's the top 10 most
places to poop,
beautiful toilets in the world, outdoor toilets, right? And one of them is at this like scout camp that's out in New Mexico at the top of this mountain. And it just overlooks, it's like at the edge of the Rockies, and it overlooks the plains, and it's vast.
So
and
basically,
it's
you
glorious.
just crapped outdoors, is what you're saying.
But it was
Oh,
a
no, but this is
religious
like-
experience as well.
I gotta, like, you cannot discount a crap with a view. So all this technology aside, all this stuff we're talking about, Rob, Tokyo toilets and warm seat warmers and hot water and cold water. My number one criteria is what's the view?
Yeah, what's the entertainment value?
This was an amazing view.
There used to be a bar in Sydney on George Street that had their toilet basically at the front of the building. And it had one-way glass. And so the urinals were pretty much just a trough on one-way glass. So you could step up on the glass and watch people walk past you on the street while you were peeing. And I would argue that was probably a way more unique experience than taking a dump on the top of a mountain place.
You haven't seen this view.
To be fair, like
We're just gonna have to agree to disagree.
I mean, I get it. I mean, it wasn't a toilet, but I've been in like onsens or whatever that look out over mountains and things like that. That makes sense. And I don't think I thought about it till right this second. But like, I think the number one, the best invention ever for the bathroom experience is the cell phone. Like, you've got all your entertainment value. You've got everything you would ever need. Maybe they should just figure out how to make sure those things are, microbially safe for bathroom experiences. Maybe that's something they should
have
sell.
them, configure them to shoot hot water and air out of them.
No, just like, I mean,
I do not want to attach a bottle of water to my cell phone, right?
See,
One of
USB-C?
the things that I've always wondered about is why they get the exhaust fans in bathrooms, and they're like, okay, we could put in a really big exhaust fan, but instead we're going to go get like the 40 mil exhaust fan from a server rack and use that instead. And so, like, you've just come back from like a night of kebabs and Guinness, and you've taken a dump that would kill children and small furry animals. And the only thing to exhaust the gas is some like busted ass fan that occasionally turns once every like 37 hours.
and it's still noisy
and you just got to sit there marinating in your own stench. And it's like, why can you not have a real exhaust system? What is it with like all the exhaust system manufacturers? They're like, yeah, we're just going to give you like the slightest waft of air. Like, maybe if you take a small piece of tissue paper, the fan will hold it against its its intake, right?
Yeah.
What I want is the type of fans they use in aircraft maintenance hangars, where they can dump the entire volume of that like 1 mile space every second.
So you've kind of hit on the thing I wanted to end with, which is like, what would be your perfect like bathroom experience? So you literally want like a server room where you got the lifted floor, all the air coming through one side, through the floor, up through the room, out the top, and like just innocence always preserved.
Look, I've taken many dumps that are like Richard Gere. Something's crawled up there and died. And so, I want that smell gone. I'm less concerned about hosing down the brown patch than I am about not have to deal with the experience that I'm having at that point.
Disassociate from what's happening.
Sometimes, you just float above and look down at yourself.
Well,
Who's this poor bastard?
Follow the light.
I've had out-of-body poop experiences before. Where you've been holding it and it's bad. Like you've had that roiling gut thing going on, and you've got
we call that the prairie dog patrol.
And you're standing in the immigration line, and you can't go to because there's no toilets because they don't want you dumping drugs and stuff, and you're like, come on, you got to do this. Sweat's breaking out on your forehead.
You're starting to take your shirt off.
And all that. I've had those type of experiences. To the point where I've explained to an immigration guy once, I said, look, I am happy for you guys to crawl up my anus with both gloves, but I gotta take a dump right now.
I can't guarantee you're gonna like it.
I just
you're gonna find something.
I just have to, stand
in
in the stall with
moment.
me. I don't care,
I will need you to bring an extra pair of pants into the examination room.
I did turn up on one flight from Singapore to Auckland once, and I was so bad. I had worn myself out on the flight by introducing the only other person in business class to the concept of gunfire coffee that I had to take a nap in baggage claim. In Auckland Airport.
Is that where you
took
put butter and bullshit, all the other shit in the
I took a nap, and then I get my bag an hour or two later, and I go to customs immigration, and the guy just looks at me from New Zealand, and I've got my passport, and I'm about to hand it to him, and he looks at me and says, "Nah, mate, I can see you've had a hard flight. Just go on through." I didn't even bother looking at the passport.
Needs a sweater.
It's you're not smuggling shit into this country. It's we'll be lucky to get your dead carcass out of here at the end of your trip.
If the drugs were in there, they broke the condoms broke a long time ago. Just go. So, Russ, what's your perfect bathroom experience?
It's got to be the room with a view, man.
So all about the view. So the view more than the tools.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about that sort of that holistic experience. You're one with the earth.
Interesting.
I'll go with that.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I'm in that same boat. I mean, I think as long as my biggest worry is it clean when I sat down? Whatever I leave goes away when I hit the button. Like that.
Well, sometimes you got to poke it down with the stick.
Yeah, so if I have to worry about that, but I guess that is the biggest fear is man, especially you're at a friend's house, or especially older relatives where the house is older, the equipment's older, and you're like,
you want the kind of bathroom where your biggest fear is getting eaten by a bear.
Oh yeah,
I'm just going to continue trying to sell this, guys.
But you're never going to be in an old person's bathroom and have to do a triple flusher, right? Primarily because, they haven't subscribed, because they installed their shit back in the 40s or 50s or whatever.
And the toilet.
And yes. So they had their...
Water was infinite.
Right. Their toilet is 75 gallons per flush or whatever.
But it doesn't just go straight down. It
versus the modern EPA approved one, which is you've got 70 grams of water to flush that down with.
I get what you're saying, and it makes sense on paper. But when you're in the moment, that thing is building up to this whole event.
I would not have used the term "make sense on paper."
I was laughing because you said on paper.
On paper. All right, it makes sense in whatever terms you want to put it, but that toilet is filling up and it's filling up and it's filling up, and you're like, at what point does this go down the fucking hatch? And then all at once it starts to slow down and go down and go down. It's like, am I getting enough momentum to get rid of this? Is it gonna happen? And it just does enough to get rid of it, even though it took 85 gallons to do it.
This kind of play-by-play is what people keep coming back for. New Zealand, we miss you.
Yeah, come back, New Zealand.
At the bottom of the bowl, when you're like, is it gonna go? Is it gonna go? And then you're like, and then it stops. It slows down and it stops. You're like, now is there enough space for me to flush again?
Yes.
You know, or do I have to wait until the water just slightly drains out?
It's all fun and games till this happens at someone else's house party.
Exactly.
When-
That's my point.
When I
I
first
need my
came
safe
here to the
space.
So when I first came here to the US back in like 91, I'm in LA airport or San Francisco airport, I forget which city it was. And I go to the toilet in the airport because, you know, I've landed, got through customs, blah, blah, and now I'm on my way to Seattle. And I open the door and I look into the toilet. I'm going, oh, fuck, blocked. I open the next one, looked in, blocked. I opened the third one, looked in, blocked. And it's this point that I started to realize that maybe they're not blocked. Maybe in America they have a different amount of water left in the bowl. You know, because in Australia we only have a very little amount of water in the
I see.
bottom of
was,
it.
yeah, okay.
Right. And here in the US, like half the bowl is full of water.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, blocked. Oh, maybe not. You know, and then I flushed the toilet and it worked. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go use that. And this is the most amazing thing about toilet technology is that it's such a similar design all around the world, yet every experience is different.
True.
I'm just appreciative that you went through a QA process before you committed to putting anything into production.
Before you put any hard deliverables down.
Check it.
Dude, I'm former Army, you know, it's like, yeah, the last thing you want to do, you want to make sure that, you know, your tank suit or your greens are out from under the process before it happens, because otherwise you're going to spend another 3 days with that shit behind your neck. So you know, it's all about like making sure before it happens.
Rob, you asked for it.
And I got it, gents. I think that's where I'm going to leave this one. I have some.
See, I wanted to do is Google a failed software company, but no, Poop Tech was the voted in one.
Do not
Was-
pretend you didn't all jump on this
I
shit
feel
as
like
well.
it got the most votes.
Well,
Well, we've flushed this one out, so let's move on
the cleaner
and
pastures next
hope
week.
that the wipe up,
I mean-
the wipe down, and Wonder Polish can carry on to next
Guys,
week.
I feel 10 pounds lighter and half as smart.
And I'm going to go do that now. So I'll see you all in a bit. I can't wait to see what a Little Miss Narrator does with this shit. Cheers, all.
Me too.
See
ya.
ya, boys.
Cheers.
Alrighty then. And to think that I took time off from being sick to do this for this episode. Regardless, what did you guys think? Should the boys do a D&D one-shot? And when did I get the name Little Miss Narrator? At this point, it should be like Little Miss gets sick every couple weeks. But whatever. It might not have been their best work, nor mine, but it wasn't their crappiest. As a little aside from future Little Miss Narrator, I didn't get the joke. The poop tech and the crappiest. There was a joke there that I completely missed. Please ignore that. I didn't laugh. Sorry. Back to the real narration. As if an Unsettle-It wasn't enough, they needed to talk even more about toilets, or the complete lack thereof. Maybe next week will be something cleaner in topic? Whatever. I'm gonna go back to being sick now. Bye, guys. Cheers.